second episode of the Fight Against Boredom Starborne Players podcast. We're your hosts.
I'm Feca.
I'm Albendinger.
And I'm Branxbro.
Now let's get this week's Fight Against Boredom started. This week's podcast is all about the tournament server. We'll be going over the teasers that have been dropped in the official Discord, along with some brand new teasers brought to you here first on the Fight Against Boredom Starborne Players podcast. Got to get that branding in. Bringing you these new teasers will be this week's guest to the podcast is our new junior community manager, 100% certified by the man, myth, legend, Snuggums himself, here to keep us all in check. Everyone, welcome ExOrbitant to the show. Moving ladies, edited in post.
Yeah, we can add those in, right? Just get like a massive crowd of people clapping for when I come in.
100%.
Excellent. Hey everyone, this is ExOrbitant here. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the junior community manager for Starborne now. Been playing Starborne for about a year, and I'm a pretty big fan of the game. So, in case you hadn't noticed.
Couldn't tell.
My main responsibilities are giving Snuggum some alone time in that design cave of his so he can, get things done in his own way. And like running with scissors is one of his many talents that he's been working on quite hard. So I don't know if you all saw that video, but that was pretty fun. So hi guys. Thanks for having me here.
Thanks for being here, man.
Yeah. It's a lot of exciting stuff coming.
Oh,
For
yeah,
sure.
definitely. I can't barely contain myself. Like my head is racing with all the change that's coming and stuff.
The hype is real. All the HYE or HYPE emojis. Oh man.
Yep. We need more of those for sure.
So the changes we're going to be looking at in this episode come straight from the official Discord's teaser channel. And as I kind of dropped at the beginning of the episode, ExOrbitant's got some juicy brand new teasers for us that
Got
he's
a couple
been
of things up my...
So what we're going to be looking at pretty much from top to bottom of the Discord server there, it's the new building planner, and we're going to go over new company and outpost systems and how that's going to be changed. EUBs. Oh man, why didn't we put our...
Or EUBs.
EUBs.
Yeah, I think is the common term.
Someone help me. What was that acronym for? I forgot.
Unique buildings.
Thank you. Jesus.
You got it.
Yeah, I knew it was unique something. I just thank you. New card structure and what's going to be going on into that. And then we're going to end it with the brand new ones. So stick around to the end of the episode for all the brand new juicy stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So.
I'm blown away by the new station planner, and I'm absolutely excited to see it. Just being able to build buildings again will be really fun. That's something I think, if you're a new player to the game, you might not quite realize, but a lot of the high level meta of the game is really focused around, really getting your influence to about 200 per station and, maxing out how much labor can I get in here. And, by the time you have 7 or 8 stations, you have enough, you're feeding yourself enough of those HSAs that, it's just a complete waste to build. We even have guys not building resource stuff at this point, we have enough resources, right? So I'm blown away. I think one of the biggest changes to that is buildings not needing labor anymore. So that's just that's just
really
the tip
nice.
of the iceberg of the station planner, right? You could have just had that alone and it had been a big enough change to the game.
For sure. Yeah, that's a really big one. Like all of a sudden, all your fleets are now just going to be 100% labor. So you don't have to worry about building this building if you need it. You don't really have to care about labor anymore. It's pretty fantastic.
Makes calculating it quicker and easier.
Right now, people don't even upgrade stuff because it's just going to eat into your fleet efficiency. So that's gone, which is pretty exciting. And what else have we got? We got the new company and outposts. So right now you can build what? 1 company per station?
Yep.
That's going up. That's going that's going up to 4 companies now per station, which is flipping huge.
And I think they're getting rebranded to organizations as well.
Oh yeah, good catch.
To kind of bring that into line as well with kind of their overall scheme here. On top of that is so you'd be imagining, if you're thinking right now about the old station builder tree, you'd be like, well, how in the world would you fit 4? There's only 3 trees, right? So they've completely, thrown away the tier tree system. If you're around for A8, you'd kind of recognize it's the same theme they did with the policies, where they used to have kind of a treat policy, and now it's kind of a pick what you want a la carte type system. And I think that just opens up so many doors. And I'm extremely excited.
It's also like you don't have to build stuff just to get to the higher tiers of buildings. Like nowadays, you build some buildings that you don't really need or want, but you're required to build them. And now there seems to be a lot more choice.
It's all about that player
like if I'm
freedom
not going
now.
to build, if I'm not going to be building scouts out of this station, I don't want that intermediate building on the way up.
Exactly. So now you puzzle together a station with the parts that you really want. Like I guess depending on what kind of station you want to build and what organizations you want, maybe you're still going to be building some buildings that you don't really need, but you just to get the requirements going. But it seems to me like there's going to be a lot more choice and a lot more flexibility.
Oh yeah, I won't need communications array level 10 to get my like bellicose industries, like so. And this is something for newer players too. It's like station scan increased by 10 per level. Well, if you don't need station scan, and I'm still now cranking this bad boy to 10, it's just a labor suck. So yeah, you're not going to need this kind of stuff. And I think how they're going to work moving forward is you just need X amount of a type of building, and so I think you can really focus that in. And I think we're going to get some awesome, really cool, dynamic stations, and it's not just going to be so cookie cutter.
So we
something that's
go ahead.
been overlooked a lot is that with the new station planner, as it's designed right now, you have 4 production buildings that you can build. So 2 of one type, or even more, depending on what you need or what your resource situation is like. Like right now, we're just building. Most of the time, you build all the resource buildings because why not? Unless you're like starving for labor.
Right.
But now there's going to be a lot more choice depending on what you want, what your situation is. And also there's only one building that'll give you labor instead of 4 different, like the living quarters and stuff. So that it's so much more efficient. And the design just looks good.
It does look very pretty, I must say. I was blown away when I first saw that screenshot.
And can you confirm, ExOrbitant? Maybe have some insight. You can just straight up do like 3 metal forges, right? Like you don't need to even do because in this image it shows 2 metal forges, the one they shared at the very beginning, which would mean I'm only producing metal in this station if I want to really hammer out Corvettes. That's something I was very interested in because there are 4 slots, but there's only 3 types of resources because there's a separate living quarter.
So the thing with that screenshot is a lot of it was placeholder, and same with all these changes coming in the next couple of weeks or so. It's all subject to change still, like balance tweaks, numbers, everything we can do now.
Right.
I think the best way to think about it is the possibilities it gives you. So that's definitely something that can be possible in the new building planner. Yeah. I'm not sure if it's 100% possible right now, but I'd imagine it could be down the road.
That got me very excited when someone pointed that out to me.
So low key, I just noticed the UI at the top has changed as well. And
I think that's actually in the test server as well. I think the test server has the updated UI, if I'm not mistaken.
I think what would be actually kind of nice is looking at that as a new player that might be a little confusing to know what that all is. So maybe having the option to like have the small UI or the expanded version with words. Maybe that's.
Don't give us back the extended. Don't give them any ideas out. I like the little
options. Options, damn it.
Well, I play a lot on mobile on the Google Chrome remote. So anything that you can make smaller, shout out to you devs out there. Anything you make smaller, that's how I play 90% of my games. So I'm all in.
Another thought that I kind of just had, like we've been talking about. We kind of discussed it a little bit of just how nice and cool it looks off the podcast. But something that I don't think we've really considered much is like how much easier this system would be to like let's say you build your station up one way, but then you need something else or you need to change it up. I think that this is a lot simpler system because instead of having like you downgrade something and you have to pull like 4 or 5 buildings down, you only pull down the buildings that you don't need. Yeah. Like it means changing them is also a lot simpler, and you can it makes adaptability in the game. So like if you screw up and you kind of have something that doesn't actually work well for late game, you're able to still adapt and you're able to still contend later on.
I mean, how many times have you found it when it's like the mid game, you're like 3 or 4 weeks in, you've got your 6th station up, and you're sitting there looking at the building planner being like, what was I doing here? What was I trying to build? How many administrators do I have left? Oh no, I need to downgrade this now, Yeah.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
visually alone, this is a massive step forward just in
Mhm.
communicating to the players like what's what goes where, and what they can do. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I think one good example too. Like right now, I'm in S10. I'm playing a pretty heavy, scout build, and almost every one of my stations has scout command. It's upgrading the station by your scouts by a certain firepower and hit points.
Oh yeah, yeah.
If I want to change at this point, this is a talk I was having, I think, with Muse the other night. He's like, man, there's all this stuff in the Alliance station. I'm like, are there scouts? Because that's where I'm at. You know what I mean? Like I can't change any kind of gameplay because I would have to downgrade at least 3 buildings and probably more because it's set up with the structure of how I want to get my companies. I probably have to downgrade 9 buildings from 10 to 1 in order to change my scout command to say like Transit Nexus or a Space Academy.
It's just not worth it, is it? Like you
Oh,
build
no.
into the certain way. Yeah.
I'm stuck. I'm stuck all the way for the rest of the server. I'm in.
Yeah, scouts, they're in a funny way right now. So like with the stealth changes, I just want to make
Oh, yeah.
something clear to all the
Ooh.
listeners. Like we are paying attention on the Discord. Like we're reading everything you guys are posting, and it's not all just going into the wind. So yeah, stealth is a bit of a contentious point
Do
in
you
the
want to
community right now.
hold that for the end? A little
No,
teaser of the
I
teaser.
want him to go. I like it. That's a nice branch.
Give it to me now.
I'm excited now. Don't.
Okay, all right. You
So
guys
what do
get
you
the
think?
early
Teaser now or
teaser. Let's
teaser
go.
at the end? I've got a few teasers up my sleeve.
We flowed into it. We're there. You can't stop us now. So
Let's go. Lay it on us.
Right. So currently with stealth, the highest you could get is 1,000. So it was always revealed. Vision is so cheap right now.
Yeah.
I mean, any player with Atlas and a cheap rune can just get 1,000 scan strength, drop that down, and then no one is stealthed.
Yep.
So it's a small change for 50 higher stealth. And, people are a bit like, oh, you can't counter that. Like, oh, what are we going to do? We're just going to be stealth bombed to pieces. What I'll reveal to you now is that we've decided you can't actually bomb with recons anymore.
Oh, wow.
And so the thing to remember here is that 1,050 stealth that you can get, it's only valid on sabotage and scanning.
Wow.
So yeah, not as scary as people thought.
That's something that was needed because I think with the stealth system, it's either or, right? Either you can push it to the level where nobody can counter it, where it's really valuable, or the balance is shifted to where scan strength is really strong and you can counter it. So going for max stealth isn't really as valuable. It's hard to balance that, I think, but that sounds to me like a good step in the right direction.
I do have one question about the mechanic for stealth in general, right? I heard there was a way, and I haven't necessarily done the math. We had some big brains do the math. But if you had like seven recon fleets, I believe it was, and then 1 fleet of bombers, how does the stealth work as far as a full squad? And could you still get away with sending like a bomber fleet with that?
I think it works like an average of all the fleets involved. So depending on how high you can get the stealth on your gunships, and how high all the stealth is on your recons, you'll probably tap out at about 900 or so. We'll have to do the numbers and stuff and check.
Okay. But
it's still,
that would be the
revealable.
only thing left. And I think still you'd have to send an obnoxious amount of recons, which once again are incredibly expensive. Now they can't do bombing. And I mean, because all you'd have to hit is that 1,001, right? Like the barely like the top of the average. But I would be interested, and I'm sure you guys are paying attention.
But that won't be possible. You wouldn't be able to reach the average over 1,000 if there's a gunship in there, because you can only go on sabotage or scan movements.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's only 3 sabotage. Oh, perfect. Yep. Cool. Yeah, that completely debunks absolutely everything for me. So you stumped me. Good job, sir.
But I mean, no, this is what's exciting for me when this stuff goes live on the test server, and in the 1st of December, like people are going to work this stuff out down to like the fine numbers. Like anything that can be, turned into an advantage will be, which is kind of what excites me about Starborne. Like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So what you're also saying there is that the test server is going to be changed at the same time as the tournament server.
No, it's going to be earlier. I don't have a date right now for you all. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Boo.
Soon time. Get them off. Yeah. No.
Shit.
But the test server you say will be actually updated before the tournament server is.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Ideally,
Like,
wow.
yeah.
So it won't just be like the super testers having access to the pre-alpha server. It's we'll also
Oh no,
have this
I'm
test
meaning
server,
when I say test server, I mean
Okay,
the test server on the test realm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we were told potentially 2 weeks beforehand we'll get our hands on it. And once again,
Yeah.
we're gonna be talking about that. I think our next podcast in 2 weeks lines up like a week before the server comes out. So hopefully we'll have some access to it and we'll be able to talk about live how we've tested it and how we've had our guys. So cool.
Yeah, for sure.
The alpha test server, because we still have, I think the verbiage for that other test server, is it called a test server or like the one they have up to 2 weeks standing one?
I want that to be rebranded into something like the restart server or like the playground server or something. Because
Right. Yeah, but it's just good for anybody listening just to clear that up before anybody gets their hopes up too much.
For sure.
Because I was already getting my hopes up. I was like, ooh, okay, I can go actually play a real
practice
game,
server,
and not just like dev tools playing, like actually like that. So okay.
So it's
practice
the
playground maybe.
Server, and the
okay.
test.
Can I just chime in real quick?
Sure.
Just looking at live chat, there's a question or a few about the bombing change to recons that you touched on, and I don't know if you can clarify. Is that change just about the cards that you can put on your recons, or is the ability to go on assaults being taken away from recons?
I believe they can still go on assaults, but I think maybe sneaking in the gunship wouldn't be eligible for that. That stealth threshold of over 1,000. If that makes sense.
And are the cards going to be touched?
Ooh, that I don't know.
Right, the cards and the policy, gunboat diplomacy.
Gunboat diplomacy would be easy. You just remove the recons.
Which is how I actually understood it when you said it originally. That's actually how I understood it, as no cards, no policies, everything. The word recon is just taken out of everything.
That's how I understood it, to be honest, as well. But now that I think about it a bit more, I'm not sure what's happening to the cards or the policies. We'll have to wait and see on that one.
Okay.
But I mean, how much bombing could you put on a recon?
Oh, don't you push us.
I mean, you can gold card them.
Get the spreadsheets out.
Yeah, it's not much, but like if you can do it stealthy to a dude and he doesn't know it's coming, it can be a surprise. And it's like this bad feeling where if you can't see it coming, you can't counterplay it really. So I understand when people don't like it.
Especially for a new player that might not understand what happened to my station, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think if I had to guess, I would say the policies and the cards are probably being adjusted in line with, but I don't know for certain. We'll have to wait and see on that one, I'm afraid.
Okay, so you can't give us specifics, but it's being looked at, it's being changed.
Right. Yeah, the devs have eyes on it. We don't want people stealth bombing to be the meta, and everyone's doing it. That won't be a fun way to play the game.
Because everyone will be doing it, right? If it's an option, that's our number one now thing, right? So I do actually like that change. And from an advanced high-level player, like, it does suck, right? Like, the idea of stealth bombing is always like, a really romantic idea. Like, ooh, that'd be super cool, right? Get all your policies maxed out. But it's not good for new players, And that really is, I mean, the bulk of, I think, what a lot of, the company's trying to do is, rake in, make sure new players sit around. And it's what we're trying to do, too.
For sure, yeah. I think what excites me most about the stealth change is that you can now, it's always a big alarm when, you see someone sending fleets over and they're just probing you. They're just dropping scan probes all over your territory, finding stuff, seeing all your movements. We can do that now stealthed. So you can do the groundwork for your attack.
Ooh.
Completely invisible. And they won't know there's probes there until you hit them with the real attack. So, yeah.
That's actually really nice.
Right. Yeah. I mean, as a predominantly Atlas player who's doing that's cool. I only thought about it from the other. I was only looking at it as like, oh, now Atlas is a little bit more useless because people aren't as happy about it. But you're telling me now about the sabotages, and now you're telling me I'm actually even better because now I'm putting probes that people can't see. So that's actually, both those are pretty exciting, actually.
Yeah. Spoiler alert: I'm going to be playing Atlas in the tournament. I think.
Yeah. So, something else about that I think has been floated around a little bit. Do you know or have any kind of information? Do you think they'll be rebalancing any of the factions kind of moving forward? Or
oh, you're milking my teasers out of me like some kind of cow.
You can just say you're a mute or something. But I don't know. I think it was teased. I think it was one of the things. If it was confirmed at all, or to the extent of some of those.
Well, what if I told you that in your next podcast you might be having another guest, and his name in certain circles is Running Scissors Man or Snuggums.
That's extremely exciting.
And I think I can reveal this. I'm not entirely sure. I know for a fact he'll be dropping a really good teaser for you guys live, but I think what he will be talking about is a faction rebalance. They're looking
man.
at, you know, all the factions and how they can spice things up, you know, make them a bit more competitive, tone things down, you know, tweak numbers and such. So
Perfect. Yeah, I mean
Mhm.
that's all I needed. Yeah, that was good enough for me. I was just interested because someone mentioned it, but you know, stuff gets lost, and just telling me that there is at least thought about it, because I know there's a lot of negativity towards it, because you know you're paying $20 for a faction, right? You bought this. Our guys that, you know, everyone's bought Tian Chao, right? So like, to say, you know, it's a full, you know what I mean, but at least to say you're doing it, you're thinking about it is really cool. You know, that it will be a potential, and you know, because we are still in alpha. But yeah, I don't need any specifics. I'm not trying to look you that hard, but just to know that it is in the thoughts is cool.
yeah, they're looking at a lot of things for this tournament server, and it's a lot of balance. It's a new building planner. It's the format of the game. It's coalitions. It's alliances. It's all sorts of stuff. So yeah, factions are definitely up there for a bit of a tweak. Yeah.
Yeah, Outposts. The changes to Outposts, like that's something I'll have to get used to quite a lot, because you can build so many outposts on a station right now, depending on what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a lower amount of outposts per station, which means they're more valuable, which also means that sabotaging them is going to hurt even more.
Yes,
so there's a lot more
yeah.
choice to be had about what kind of direction you want to do with your station, what how efficient you can be with your outposts, and I'm super interested to see that. I'm really interested to get my hands on it, because like one part is thinking about it, but getting your hands on it and playing with it is like completely different.
It's
You
going
learn
to be
so
really
much more by
nice
doing.
thinking, like when you get a new station and just not immediately going down 3 or 4 mining facilities. That's just what you do.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and I think it honestly brings the event cards, like the commodities, kind of maybe a little bit more in line too. When you know you're kind of actually picking a little bit more, and it makes that disparity. As someone that I play a pretty free to play as far as premium goes, like the whole way through. It's just something I like to do for, you know, testing purposes for an alpha, right? I will definitely be going premium tournament server, but it is cool to see from that perspective, right? Of, you know, it will bring that a little bit more in line, where, you know, you're not missing out if you're not dropping the 3 missile battery or the mining facilities, right?
Yeah.
Or even 4 can you get up to, right? I think, or something like that.
4 on your capital. Yeah.
Yeah, where that's like, you know, that's all my steel slabs for the week. You know what I mean? Like, so that is cool. You know, instead of 4 mining facilities, now we have 4 total, you know, outposts.
For sure.
I'm happy to see about that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it's going to play out with the commodities, because I'm always hurting for titanium. So I always need more of that, right? Just living without a Stargate hurts.
What do you
want to
build
get your
first?
HSA up to 5?
What's your first outpost you built to level 5?
Most of the time, it's a Stargate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely
I like to go
Stargate.
fast.
And then depending missile batteries, yeah. Start if you're on a lot, it has to be that. And then if not, if you're surrounded, the missile batteries. I end up with like 4 within a few days of, like, you know, getting ready for ESA to drop off.
It's also because of the tasks when you start a server, right? The first Stargate you build every level, you get scouts. The same for like Scanner and Habdome, and they just I like my scouts. They're really powerful.
Early game,
so getting especially early game. So getting them right away is pretty good. I like to build missile batteries, to be honest, to get the patrol ships, just to have them in case something happens pretty early on. So yeah, but definitely most often I go domain first to get the scouts.
Yeah. And
really
if you don't max one of those out, it's Commerce Hub is the first that should be 5 as soon as you get that. That's the other key. You know, you got to hit that 5 as soon as you possibly can.
Oh boy! Or you can do what I did on server 10 and just, you know, build it when you get it, double card it so it gives you no influence or no credits, and then just notice it 2 weeks later. It's still level 1.
Well, I specifically remember like we were pushed we were pushed on server 1 to do it a lot. I remember Admiral like spammed it. He just hit it level 5 and like he dropped like 20 or 30 in rank and he was like, man, like no one else is doing additional. I'm gonna be ahead in the long term, but it looks bad on your influence, right?
Sure. But I think influence is such a misleading metric. Like it doesn't really show, the top 100 players. There's very little difference between them and the top 500. I often find.
I heard a great phrase. It's a metric of how much you can be bombed and still live.
I like that. Yeah,
that's pretty much all it is, right? It's just building health, pretty much, right?
Yeah,
I like that. It was actually, I think, maybe University Society or Ryan Pirates. I think it was one of their leaders, and I liked it a lot.
Oh, can I go back quickly to what you were saying? With less outposts being available, and then you said sabotage will be, more dangerous and more damaging since, you have less outposts. Ergo, it means, sabotage will hurt more. They're also going to be tweaking outpost hit points, so sabotage becomes less accessible.
Ooh, I like that a lot because currently missile batteries, mining facilities are very
cheap.
low.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's cheap and it's half a scout fleet can do it.
That's what I was saying. Half a scout fleet, I think. You can lose heavy losses and you send half a scout fleet, you're still there. So,
we want it to remain a mechanic that people want to spec into. They want to build these big scout and recon fleets and, card them up and, I'm going to go ruin all your outposts. But they don't want it to be so easy to do. So
yeah, it's good if it requires an investment. To be good at something, it should require investment because then there's a trade-off.
What about for like early game though? Like, would it scale like into late game? So like it's easy to get like maybe a level 1 missile battery up, but maybe make like the cost of upgrade scale with later game. That way, it kind of.
The formulas being used, they look linear to me right now, but they're being tweaked, so it's still more difficult to sabotage a level 1, for example.
But what's the upgrade cost of a missile battery? Like, is that going to remain the same, or do you know anything about it?
I'd imagine in line with only being able to build 1 of each outpost, they'll be tweaking the costs and stuff to reflect that, and maybe some numbers as well. So it's all being looked at.
Yeah,
I think my understanding was if you have more of an incentive now to go tall in your outposts. Once they hit level 5, it's going to be very costly for someone to sabotage it or to guarantee a sabotage on it, for example.
I like that verbiage a lot. They use tall there. I think I saw that being kind of used of, because they also mentioned, not as many stations. We're not going to be able to level up as quickly.
Oh, yeah. I don't know much exactly on how they're tweaking those numbers, but yeah, that's definitely going to be a thing.
Right. But with tall, I just like that idea, maybe like a more concentrated empire, or anytime you do any kind of meaningful part in a strategy game, right, that's just good. You want things to feel meaningful. I don't want to have all to spread out all this stuff and I get on, I feel like I'll just drop 2 stations because that's kind of where we're at, right? I mean it's especially later in the game. So
do you ever get that feeling when you build 2 more stations, you just kind of sigh and that's 2 more shipyard queues I need to fill now every 12 hours?
Oh yeah. Like at a certain point, like after I've gotten my first 6 stations, I'm not as hyped about building new stations anymore because it's just more work. And like you've done it before, the more stations you have, the less impactful stations become new stations.
Yeah.
Apart from like stations that are in very specific spots to.
Yeah. What really grinds my gears is when how you get the 1 to 9 numbers to quick like hotkey through to your stations.
Yeah.
As soon as my 11th station comes up and it's going to be on the next page, I don't build it. I just build TCs. So yeah. Pro tip.
I'm still building TCs pretty early on. I know in season 1 it was super cheap, so it was like, all right, if you're not building TCs, you're not playing the game. Insanity Sector had this huge write up, and it was like everyone like across the coalition, this is like what you have to do. No one built another station. And we were like, what? Come on, man. And he's like, no, like seriously, this is what we gotta do. And I think that helped the coalition a lot because it was like, you're right, it's so cheap, it's easy. They did nerf it a little bit to the 12 influence points and the extra resources. And I think it's still worth it. I mean, I'm interested to see, now that we're getting less XP, if 12 IP will be that much more impactful, right? Because we're getting less levels.
Sure.
But regardless, it's just such a powerful tool, and I really do enjoy it.
It'd be interesting to see as well, like when you capture a station, how easy it would be to reconfigure it with the new building plan. So if you capture a Zauk or a level 4 NPC.
Oh, level 4 NPC, what buildings are they gonna have? That's
Exactly. They're getting a new building planner too. You gotta love the NPC.
Yeah, that didn't even really come up in our group of thought. I didn't even think about that, but that's cool. That's really nice.
Awesome. Anything going on in the chat? And what are people asking?
One guy is saying, it sounds like you're making every play style have a purpose. Because like the things you said about sabotage, it takes more investment to do the sabotages.
Oh yeah. I think that's true. Like I really liked the old policies on Alpha 8. You know, remember that tree and the branches when you had to invest into it, and then that was you stuck for that whole server. I quite like that. It just had a sense of permanence to it, you know.
I had a love-hate relationship with that because it didn't tell you right away that you're going to be stuck with that spec. I thought you could like dual spec or triple spec and stuff, but no.
Mm-hmm.
But you definitely had your roles. Now it's more overlap in roles, like more multi-rolling or multitasking, I guess you could call it.
We'd like people to be able to fulfill every role, but you can definitely specialize and, you know, build yourself into a niche, and that can be your thing. You can be the scanner guy, you can be the sabotage guy, you can be the gunship hammer. So
that was kind of my thing. Sorry, you keep going.
No, go on.
That was just kind of my thing with the previous policy tree, you know, how it was dynamic, but like so many parts of the game already lead you to that, you know, so I felt like a lot of it was almost a little redundant, like, because you can already do this in the station plan, right? I'm already building all scout commands, you know, so I'm already a scout guy. But I did kind of have a sweet spot for my industry tree, you know, and people always talked about, you know, what tree is the best, and, you know, you kind of had your different roles, or the Machiavellian, or whatever. I think it's just called military tree, but like that, I did have a sweet spot because it is cool to have, you know, your kind of role. Like, all right, we don't have. I remember Branx and Allen, their alliance. I think they have like maybe one guy that went down military tree, just sheer luck, right? It's you got random guys, right? And then just throw his wallet at the screen. It's like, all right, all the command cards, unspec, respec. All right, now I'll do it. And
the sad part is, like, while that was true, we still didn't have the right station set up because you had to cluster, so he was all spread out.
Like, I think when I say I miss it, I'm nostalgic, but I think what we have now is like, for example, on Alpha 8 server 2, I think we had one guy who was a Machiavellian. One guy to do all of our spying. We dropped out, like, you know, halfway through the server.
It's like definitely so many changes going from A8 to A9. The clustering is gone. The supply range is gone.
Well, not as bad as it was, but I mean, there's still an advantage to kind of build your things tightly together.
When it comes to like outpost efficiency with like Stargate, for example, having one station like going Stargate with a 6 speed and max range and somewhat clustering, so you can like save your titanium.
Yeah,
that's a thing. But like, you don't want to cluster as much anymore. Like, A, because habdoms don't work that way anymore, and B, because you want to have your claiming as many hexes as you can for the fleet slots.
True that.
But yeah, that was always my big grievance. You know, in every strategy game ever, it's already beneficial to, you know, cluster up. Yeah, and it just in real life, right? If you bunker up, like, it's just an already tactical advantage. So like, the game doesn't need to like enforce, you know, rules to cluster for people to do it. They're going to naturally do it, right? And it's helpful for defense. It's always good. It's always been good. It always will be good. So you don't need to add extra, you know, things on top of it to encourage it. It's going to be encouraged regardless. So
speaking of clustering for strategic reasons these days, you want to look at the habdome for a sec? With, you know, considering we used to have to cluster around habdomes like crazy. Glancing over
changes.
Those I kind of just glanced over them again for a minute, and that looks really interesting. Like, basically, what I'm getting at is, or what I'm getting out of it.
Talking about the new teaser. Is that what you're trying to get at right now? Okay.
I mean, if you got any more information on habdomes than what Snowgums has given us.
Oh no, just go over it. No, go over the teaser, what they did for the habdomes.
So what it's looking like it's doing now is it's going to increase labor of the owning station by 50% of all the ice fields in its radius per level. So, ExOrbitant, do you know if that means like 50%? Like if there's 2 ice fields, then it's going to increase it by 100% of the total labor, or is it only increasing the labor output of the ice fields?
I don't actually know. That weird wording is very funny there.
It is.
Yeah, we had a discussion about that. But
yeah, I'll have to get clarification on that for you. Because I can't
so-
imagine it's just, a 50% efficiency mining facility. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, I imagine it's it says it gives you 100 or I think 80 in this game, and you
Yeah.
really get 40, right? 40 of each one, and then they go up to 150, 200. I think he said it could go up to. I'm kind of skimming over it now.
See, yeah. What I'm thinking is it's
of each
total.
one.
It looks like total labor output. So like the station harvest, the labor production building, and if you have any mining facilities gathering ice, it looks like it's going to be total. And also adding the Chattel human resource card will increase P&Ms, which Snugums is wanting to to make a
P&Ms.
thing.
Put that into your lexicon, kids. P&Ms, planets and moons.
Planets and moons,
Moons, baby.
So he's wanting to get you add Chattel's resource card and it increases the output of those.
Oh, Chattel's human resources. That'll be a company then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
a card,
The company. That's right.
Yeah, organization.
And it'll
So many words to learn.
Yeah, we're all learning together, right?
To me, it seems like
Organization.
this is going to be a sort of mining facility that's specialized in labor, and you can
Yeah.
increase the range. You can
So, like, you
increase
get- it looks like-
efficiency, you can also take planets and moons, PNMs.
Yeah. So I think what that is like with the organization, based on how it is, it adds mining facility just for labor, which looking at his little thing is something that they haven't been able to do, is to like separate if you can get one resource or the other. Yeah. So I guess
now
since y'all
it
are able
used
to do
be
that,
you could just specify if it was a planet, a moon, or a field, and it would just get everything from there. But now it can be a field and only ice, or a field and only crystal, for example.
So basically it looks like not only is it going to be adding that 50% based on the number of ice fields within its radius, but it'll be adding it almost looks like it's going to be adding, I guess it's just going to treat them as an ice field if it's got labor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still a little ambiguous, but it sounds
think,
like labor for days is basically what it sounds like.
For that one,
It might not be, because we have to remember now buildings aren't going to cost any labor. So this could look underwhelming in terms of numbers, but then in terms of what it's actually adding to what you can put in your fleets, maybe it balances out. Maybe it's the same level as what we can do today.
Well, for me, now that we can stream labor that we've mentioned, that changes the game entirely, right? Like it's no longer.
That's a big one.
Well, you can do that?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
You can stream labor now.
That's
Put those people into streamers and send them where they need to be.
Yeah. It's kind of ambiguous what labor actually is, the ability for humans to exist, or like the actual people, so we're just kind of going with it. I know someone mentioned it being like maybe just like a fuel or like a supplies or something, because like it's really ambiguous. When you hear labor, it means one thing, but now, especially now that buildings aren't taking any labor, we've gotten robots to take over that job finally.
That's the beauty of an alpha game. It's like, you can look back on those early days when we had people, and now it's just all fuel and like rocket fuel and stuff that we're harvesting.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like labor streaming, it also depends on like how can you like stream the entirety of the labor or just a portion of it. Is it going to take investment when it comes to like freighters or rather streamers, or is it going to be a slightly different system than resource streamers? Then add that up with the ability to have ship production being sent to your capital right away, which is coming.
The rally point.
It changes, like in my head, that just changes the way I'll approach the game a lot.
Are you thinking shenanigans? Because you can change your capital once. So are you thinking, send this thing really far away and claim all those ships somewhere? Do something naughty.
You could go be really aggressive with it. Like, let's say you're invading another sector, you build a station there, you make that your capital. All of a sudden, all your ship production is right on the front lines. But then that station is in harm's way. So you can do a lot of things with it. Well, we'll have to see how it plays out.
I do have a
Yeah.
quick question with that.
Mhm.
Does anyone know currently if you switch your capital to just this outpost station way on the front line, and they destroy your capital, do you get to then reassign your capital again, or are you done with your one choice and you're done?
Ooh, that's a good point.
Right, because-
Currently, yeah,
yeah,
once
sorry,
you
go
lose your
ahead.
capital, it gets reassigned randomly to one of your other stations.
Okay. So you could
So-
still technically risk-free do it, right? But and that wasn't my shenanigan that I was gonna pull, but my idea was just a really, really simple, stream all the labor to your capital, just have have every ship go to your capital, and pretty much just have one station that, really labor stuff. And now I only need one scout command, right? Like, and theoretically, right? And it could
Yeah,
only be
yeah.
50% of your streaming labor or whatever else, but it's still a heck of a lot more labor concentrated at one place. And I'm going to stream all the stuff to my capital since I can only send my ships to my capital, right? But it's just going to be logistically, it should be a lot better and a lot easier, to really
See,
make
what
some
I
of
think
these
this is going to
decisions.
do is this is going to offset how much combat happens on FOBs right now and Alliance Dyson spheres. Because with everyone front loading their capitals this way, with labor streams, with ship rallies, they're going to become a target again.
Much more of a target than they are right now. We
Yeah.
already, like, some of us target capitals just to
Screw you.
because screw somebody's labor.
Loss. Yeah, I mean,
Why
it's
not?
No big
Yeah.
deal. And in the outposts, right? I think Captain Diceberry just knocked out. I think he said 2 capitals, but it could be just normal stations. but we were like, "What? Like, that's so cool!" Like, so it is still a cool thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's still a possibility. So, but it will be cool because I'm assuming. I mean, maybe a capital station will still, now that we only have one labor building, maybe it'll still go to 20, but we have no idea, right? It could still be stagnated at 10 for every station, and now to be a capital, it just means you can stream to. So it could have a whole different dynamic. Especially when you change your capital, maybe now if you don't have 20 level 20 resource stations, it's not such a big negative. So you might actually change, because right now you can't change your capital station. Once you get your 4th or 5th station, you're not going to hit level 20 labor buildings in your capital if you change it halfway through the game.
Yeah.
So that is a choice that's kind of kept, and a reason to not maybe pull off the shenanigans. So I'm interested to see if they keep that as well.
Yeah, I'd be worried about losing my capital and then not being able to change it from where it got randomly reassigned. It screws me over.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That'd be very interesting.
I'm curious to see what being the capital means apart from rally point and stuff, because right now the capital gives you ability for the 4th mining facility. It gives you a bit extra labor. What will being the capital station mean gameplay wise, apart from the things that we already know?
That's a very good question. One I don't actually know the answer to right now.
Yeah. It'll be interesting for sure. I'm excited.
Yeah.
But like with the labor streaming, what really, like, even if it's not the entirety of the labor, just a certain portion of it, what I like about it is because right now I have a couple of stations that have like 300 excess labor. That's not enough for an entire fleet, and I can't really do anything with 300 labor. It's just seems like a waste. Being able to just put that on another station means I could use that.
Yeah, if you have like 200, 300, 250, 230 labor on all your stations, you're not using it. That's a whole fleet there. I like it.
Yeah. That's a very good point. Just knocking off rounding errors. That's really
just for your OCD as well. Having to put 122 labor sitting somewhere doing nothing.
That's really good, actually, because then you take your capital building and whatever ship you're wanting to specialize in, like Feca, how you're specializing in scouts, you can put all your excess labor into those fleets that you want to produce the most of.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it's also like you're not just streaming labor to your capital, right? I assume, like, as we do with resource streaming, we'll be able to say which station it goes to, and maybe you have one station that's your scout station, where you buff up all the ships supplied by that station, or your scouts and recons, and then maybe you have another station that's for the few combat ships that you actually have, your lights and heavies, destroyers, corvettes, all that. So you have the choice, like, okay, do I need more labor for scouts, or do I send it to this other station because I need more labor for the corvettes and the destroyers?
Oh yeah, I think like the flexibility is endless with that, because that is such a good point. Where where we just had Muse get nuked, and you had all this destroyer stuff, and it's like, well, can't pick up scouts, can't pick up he's not really designed for carriers. So it's like, all right, he picks up gunships, right? Because it's from the same building there. So instead of being limited, it's like, okay, let me just switch all my streams, all my labor streams to just this other station. Once again, depending on how much it is, that's awesome. I mean, you can really flip during your gameplay, and it's still meaningful choices you have to make. It's not just like, oh, I can do whatever I want. You still have to have that station built and ready for it. But it'll be interesting because you can kind of, prepare for stuff like that. And I do definitely enjoy that.
It's something that we're looking at as well for like comeback mechanics. Like if you get whelped or knocked out, like we don't want you just like Alt F4 and never log in again. That's not a fun way to play a game. So yeah, it kind of ties into that a bit, being able to reconfigure your streams and your labor and what you have available.
It's something that we talked about last podcast, adaptability. It's something that I consider to be one of the top skills in players, just being able to adapt to the situation. And like, I know losing the majority of your ships and even some stations can be a real blow to your morale, but being able to adapt to that and just look at it and go like, okay, now I'm going to do this. It sucks, but I'll just do this. That's something that I really value in players.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, 100%. It's like you lose a battle, but you're still in it for the war. You can still be a pain to these guys who've wiped you out, but you can, keep fighting till the last breath.
One thing, talking about like stations and how certain station builds going to be specialized for certain things, the more I think about having access to so many different types of organizations, the more my brain hurts, and I don't even know all of them yet. Just all the things we're going to be able to do with them. Like I think one that was teased was an organization that will increase the strength of your spies. Like I just imagine Tian Chao players building a couple of those and just having like 60 spy strength spies. Like I will see what you have.
Okay, yeah, I mean that could be possible. I don't really know how it's all gonna piece together.
It's also still subject to change. Like
hey, of course.
I know that the developers listen to what we have to say, because I remember on Server 1 of Alpha 9, a change was coming to how we could card stations, where the effect of cards wasn't unique anymore. You could stack a lot more cards. And what that meant was that we would have been able to stack the operating limit cards on stations.
Yeah. I think we actually mentioned that last podcast. We were going through that, and it's just cool, man. It's really
and we
cool
immediately said like, hey, look, here are the numbers. Not a good idea, and that change got pulled. So you know that the devs are looking at what our thoughts are and also their own thoughts. Sometimes you have a good idea, and then you think about it for like a couple of days or a week, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, here's this fringe case that just means this would be completely overpowered, and you have to change it again.
Yeah, no, the devs do pay a lot of attention to the Discord and to any feedback you guys send in. If there's stuff that's broken or imbalanced, like, it gets looked at, and that'll happen ongoing in the tournament as well. Like, if something gets missed or something, we don't want something unbalanced going out. We don't want something broken. So yeah, they're paying attention.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have to remember this a couple of times a week, and I think other people need to remember this as well. Like, if you're developing a game, you're a handful of people that have your thoughts and ideas about how things are going to play out, and then you push it out to the masses, and in this case, the alpha testers, a couple of 100,000 people, and we think of fringe cases that the devs had thought about, and all of a sudden we do things that the devs see and go like, oh wait, this isn't at all how we intended this to play out. It's something you see a lot with big games. Like, companies develop a patch, they test it, they say they're rigorously testing it, but they know, they're very well aware. Once you put it out there to the masses, there are bound to be people thinking about things that you just missed. So, and I think we're still in alpha. It's something I said a couple of times, and I'll repeat it over and over again. First and foremost, we're alpha testers, then we're gamers. Part of what we do is just look at the fringe cases, test out all the mechanics, and if we see stuff that is broken, or even discover an exploit, it always sucks when you discover an exploit that's being used against you, but it's our job to just shine a light on it. Like, hey, here's this thing that can happen. It's still an alpha. That's going to happen. The more rigorous we are with it, the better the product can be once it goes into beta and once it goes live.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think that's a big part of what's pulled me into Starborne about a year ago. it's a bit rough around the edges. You know, some stuff doesn't work how you think it'll work. And then, you know, you find this mechanic and you think, oh, is that meant to be that way? Or is this a bug? And you kind of explore this rabbit hole and then, you know, yeah, hooked. Like, it's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I just absolutely love what Branks touched on and keeps hitting on is, you know, I think a lot of people, they'll come in, you know, this game sucks and they'll leave, or, you know, they get like super duper upset, like, you know, about certain this or that, but like not everything's permanent. And, you know, it's really is your job to do your best to keep it constructive and like show them, because like we keep repeating, like they're listening, like keep your things constructive, like they're going to be there, like they can't do everything overnight. But like you're first and foremost an alpha tester. That's how you should kind of look at it. And obviously everyone's competitive, so once you get into the game, you know, you will lose track of that a little bit, but like at the end of the day, you know, we're here to help, you know, progress this game and trying to be part of a community that like will be there when we get to see, you know, the game. It's kind of all of us that get to kind of do this together, you know, whether that's their intention or not. I'm going to be on the sidelines cheering them on, right? And that's kind of my goal. So
something I see a lot from people, some of them though really vocal on the Discord, is not just being competitive, but also being very passionate about the game. And then you see things that you don't think should be the way they are, and then they're very vocal about it. And it's something I had to get used to, like, don't taking it with a grain of salt. When somebody vocalizes or just writes out their opinion, they can come off as mad. But it's just passion there. Like, we all play this game, or all games we play, because we want to have fun, we want to have enjoyment. And if you get attached to a game because you really like it, you can get frustrated when stuff doesn't work out, or when the game seems to take a direction that you don't agree with. And I had to realize this and really internalize this. It's passion. The guy I'm talking to and that I'm probably disagreeing with isn't a bad person because we disagree. There's passion there.
Yeah.
It's just a different point of view, and we can definitely meet each other. And the more I trained this, the more I was able to debate with someone that had a different opinion. And in the end, I always realized that, hey, we kind of want the same thing here.
Our
And
goals
then
are
that's
aligned.
when you can get, that's when you can get like progress done. When you can like figure stuff out. Like, okay, you don't like it for one reason, I don't like it for another reason. How can we meet each other and kind of, what would be the way it would work for both of us? And then you can make a good suggestion. Then you can get somewhere with your feedback.
Oh, for sure. Like, I remember back in the day when I was like dropping in some stupid suggestions when I was still new around here. Like, my biggest high from that point of time was when someone would like take it to pieces and poke holes in it, and I'd be like, actually, you're right.
Yeah.
It evolved the idea, and it was collaborative. It's beautiful. Yeah, feedback and discussion, having discussions with players who are as passionate about the game as you are, is honestly, I think, the greatest thing about this community right now, and it's a healthy thing to have.
Absolutely.
I truly don't think you're doing something right unless someone disagrees with you, right? Like it means, first of all, like they've actually taken the time to like actually, and most of the time, right? So I mean, you get a rare occasion where they're just not reading and disagreeing, but like for the most part, especially in this community, I've seen like they're reading everything you're saying, like, no, that's like BS, right? That's not something like I believe in, and they're going to tell you what it's like, and it's awesome. It's like, okay, cool. You know, I'm logging on, and I'm like, okay, I got all these replies, and you go back and forth, and it really shows you, because just like, you know, the developers may not see a certain thing, like we also, you know, don't see a certain thing, and you know, even our peers can kind of show us those different parts of it. So I'm all in, like, and I think even like some of these like EUB teasers, I know like one of them, like people thought, you know, lackluster at first or this or that, but like they're the lower level ones, and then like you start talking about it for a while, and it's like, oh man, maybe the +2 spies, you know, as like a level 2, you know, organization actually can kind of start, you know, adding up, you know, especially when you compare them to other ones that are coming out and stuff, and it's like, okay, if you're really into the spy game, like that's a really cool one, you know. So like I'm still pumped about all of them, and I think that's going to keep on coming out as they release different teasers and different stuff that's going on. You know, it may not seem like, you know, the best at first, but it doesn't mean it's awful, like you might go out and say, and like start using it. It's like, oh man, like this is actually super cool.
So, yeah, once you see it in play, you see it in a different light. Once you see how the meta develops and how people use the resources they're given in certain ways, you kind of underestimate certain things, you overestimate other things, and then you see how it's used by people, and all of a sudden you start thinking about it differently. Like, oh, this is actually strong. just because people are utilizing it or like min-maxing it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like an interesting one there is this the debate between corvettes and patrol ships or destroyers against frigates going on continually. And a lot of it's
Yeah, that
subjective
debate
as
can
well.
get pretty heated.
It can a bit. Yeah. And I mean,
yeah.
it's a lot of it's subjective, so it's like what you prefer and what you think is better, and like that's totally valid as well. If it works for you, it works for you, like in your strategy and how you're applying it.
Well, I think the fact that there is a debate means you're in a good spot, right? You know, if it was just unanimous, and I think generally we normally lean towards Desis, but it's also often because we know we're going to be in early wars, we know we're going to be fighting, and we know we can throw them quick, right? And that's kind of our defense. Generally, why we're going to talk about Desis. But like you'll run into people like, nah, dude, frigates only, and like they beat you because it's like, all right, yeah, you got frigates, you know what I mean? But like the fact that you can have a discussion, I think a lot of the topics in Starborne, the fact that we can have a discussion, the fact that like someone's going back and forth means you're at least near a sweet spot, right? Like it means it goes back and forth. So,
amen. Yeah.
Okay, we do have a request from the live audience if you could pronounce strategy correctly.
Strachichi.
Oh yeah, he did it. He did it. Wow.
I believe it's strategy. Yeah, it's a hard one though.
Oh man. Okay, yeah, the audience is pleased. Yeah, so
a happy audience. I like that. Yeah. How many do we have in the audience tonight? Is what 4, 5?
We got 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, about 5. So and hopefully, like nudge again. Maybe we could actually get this going on in the official Discord, and let people jump in, right? And we were talking about it's a little too set up, like 2 channels. We like to
open it to the masses. That's interesting.
Right, and kind of spit us out some live stuff and see if we're missing anything or mispronouncing anything or doing things wrong, right? So we would definitely be interested in that as well.
It definitely opens up more of the community to come in and have a voice in stuff like today, like teasers and brand new stuff, and give their opinion on how it sounds.
I know you guys were really keen to get like more guests on, because I mean every war has 2 sides to a story, and there's usually 7 or so wars per server. So yeah, you want to get as many guests as possible. So yeah, widening this out to the community is awesome.
Yeah, because like even amidst the fact that this game is an alpha, and like Brock said, our primary job is like testing, right, and making the game good. The reason why this game is so fun is even at this stage of development, we have such great stories and great things going on politically and warring wise in the game. So like, yeah, getting more people in here to tell their stories would be awesome. So again, nudge, Nuggums.
Friendships and gunships.
Our greatest weapon. Some use light ships, some use heavy ships. We always use friendships.
It's the only thing to never be nerfed.
Oh man. Jesus. I'm just trying to go back through and make sure we've kind of touched on, I think, most of the teasers here. I touched a little bit on the EUBs, Empire Unique Buildings, which I like a lot the way you didn't just give us 4, how you really tiered them out, and it's like you get 1 at 0, 1 at I think 2, 6 and 7, or 2. I think it's 0, 2, 4, 6 for organization. Is just gonna be cool, man. Like, and I think you have the maximum amount of buildings. We got 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 buildings, I think. So it's totally possible if the top is 6, right? I mean, that's not even a majority. That's actually, not even half your buildings, and you can max out your top organization slot. Once again, man, this is going to be beyond cool.
Yeah, once we get our fingers on it, we're going to do some write-ups. We're going to pick it apart. There's probably going to be some YouTube videos dropping about it. Like, that's the info you want to get out there.
Yeah. It's also worth just reminding everyone that, like, when the stuff goes live on the test server, all the patch notes, all the details will be written up for everyone to read and pour through and theory craft and, yeah, get their eyes on it.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, but I think we're about heading off about an hour now.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the perfect length. So yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap this up about here.
Nice one, guys. Thank you so much for having me. It's been super fun.
Yeah. Thank you
Thanks
for the teasers.
Yeah, man, this has been awesome.
Juicy.
Heck yeah.
Thanks so much for coming in and also announcing, hopefully your word is true and we'll get Snuggums next week, that in 2 weeks, I guess, is, just going up the chain here. But awesome. I'm really glad to, kind of maybe a little bit officially announce, you're the new junior community manager.
Heck yeah.
And that's just congrats on that, man. That's super
Thanks,
cool.
guys. It means a lot. It's nice to talk to players about the game. Yeah, it's fantastic.
So this is beyond cool.
So just to clarify, we're gonna edit in all this clapping and women cheering and stuff.
Yeah, I'll be one of the first things I do. I'm gonna get me another cup of coffee and I'll get right on that.
We're just gonna get new voices for us too when you choose it. And now introducing ExOrbitant!
Can I have like 2 decibels lower? Just like real low.
Yeah, make you sound real cool.
Oh, like you want to go like 2 octaves lower, like nice and deep.
And as always, guys, definitely leave us comments. I think we're up to like maybe like minus like 200 views on YouTube, which I'm more than happy with.
Yeah.
That shows it's more than just us 3 watching it. So that was pretty cool.
If you want to suggest a topic for the next episode, something that you feel like we should talk about, just leave that in the comments, and we'll see if we can pick that up.
That, or you can DM any of us on Discord.
You definitely ping Nihilus, but
Also,
also
ping Nihilus.
Also, like, if there's anything you might want us to ask Snuggums, maybe we can sneak some questions on them. Like you can do any of that kind of stuff. But just also, we're going to talk about a lot of game mechanics, so anything you're interested in as well. Because hopefully by next one we'll be super testing, and so we're definitely down to answer any of those questions as well. So I'm excited, man.
All right,
guys. Good. Well, I think it's a good place to wrap it up. So thanks for tuning in to this bi-week episode or bi-month episode of the
Starborne. Now you're doing it.
Yeah, I know. Thanks for tuning into the Fight Against Boredom Starborne Players Podcast episode 2. Hope to catch you guys in the next. See, I keep wanting to say next week, but it's the next week.
Next episode.
2 weeks. Next episode.
The next episode. We'll look over the comments, see what we're going to go over. It's probably going to be more tournament teaser stuff and maybe some new player guides, little tidbits on this and that. So anyway, thanks for catching it. Take it easy and stay casual.
Keep up that fight against boredom.
See you.